Yes, my people, I'm here again. That is something I want us to holistically look at. Mind you, this is my perspective and my personal psychological opinion. I just want you to think about it before you come for an attack. Okay? The video might be long, but please watch this video very well. I will play a video now. After the video, give me from like 3 or 4 minutes to analyze something to you so that we can be able to project this psychological ideology in our African marriage culture and system. Watch this video.
We gave you this list before you came here. You must have gone through it.
That's exactly what Papa equal there. Did you see the list of the women before you?
But they were now. Listen. Listen to me. You don't get it. They have settled their own. Then we have to settle our own. We are telling you what we want. You see, you have not even gone to exam. If you go to exam, then we will agree with you. But this time around, you have not done anything. Concerning the end, you have not done anything.
You should man go for
You check up. Otum le ganya na na. Anyam, see, na gente. Genanti na ogo. Anyam, enwe anyam. Anyam na physically na genanti.
You have accepted it.
Ogo give back Ogo, see.
Yes, it's obviously you have watched that video, but I'm very sorry that in that video that you just watched, what they are speaking there is an Igbo language. For those of you that don't understand the Igbo language, now that is just an argument between an in-law and a son-in-law, like a man that came to marry a daughter from a particular family. They are arguing based on the fulfillment of the price list, what they wrote on the list, what they tell the man to do. So there is a misunderstanding between it. Maybe probably the thing don't they choke the man. You understand? Now when something don't they choke you, you got complaint. So that is that man is trying to complain about the expensiveness of that list. So that is just what is going on there. And that is why I'm bringing out this topic that African marriage culture is a modern slavery. You might take it or you leave it, but before you judge, can you just pause a minute and think about it and listen carefully to the end of this message before you judge me? I repeat again, African marriage culture or Nigerian marriage culture is a modern slavery. How do I mean? How many of us, do you remember how slave trade is being done? Let me analyze it to you. In slave trading, the person that is interested in that, in a particular slave, goes to the slave master. And when he goes to the slave master, he identifies the particular slave he wants to buy. And the slave master, which is the owner of that slave, will tell the person what it takes to be able to have possession to that particular slave. If the person that wants to buy that slave fulfill that requirement, the slave master will hand over the slave to that person, and the person takes that slave home. And from that day, that slaves belong to that person. That is how slave trading occur in the olden days. That is just the scenario to occur. Now, are you guys not thinking this? We modernize this thing in our African marriage culture, where a man identify a woman, in quotes, I'm just in quotes, let's say slave, in quotes, that's why I said it's a modern slavery system. Identify a woman, and when he identify a woman, he goes to the woman's parent, which is the father, which is the slave master in my analysis. And the father will hand over a price list, which is a requirement. When he hand over this price list, which is a requirement, to that man, the man have to fulfill that requirement. And immediately the man fulfill this requirement, the parent will hand over the what? The woman to the man. Please, is it not the same thing with the slave trading system, where you identify a slave, the slave master gives you the requirement, you pay, and they hand it over to you. And after they hand it over to you, they believe the slave belonged to you. In the same thing in the marriage, after you have fulfilled all the price list, they now believe that the woman belongs to you. Now, how does this generally affect the marriage system in Africa? Now, in the olden days of that slavery, the person that bought the slave becomes the slave master after he has fulfilled that requirement from the slave master. He now becomes a new slave master. And now it is required that the slave will start obeying the new slave master. Start doing whatever the new slave master ordered that slave to do. If the slave disobeys the slave master, it becomes a problem for the slave. It can even lead to fine. It can even lead to punishment. It can lead to reselling again, because the slave disobeyed the slave master, the new slave master. The same thing is the problem we're having today in marriage. Because after fulfilling this requirement, this price list, and they handed over the woman to you, you now think you are now the master, the owner, the new ownership. You assume the new ownership of this person after you fulfill the price list. Now you expect this person too to start obeying you the way this person obeys the father at home before. And when these things don't happen, you start seeing marriage falling apart. And that's why they will always say a man utmost request is what? Is respect in marriage. And when a woman falls out of this respect, the man gets angry and they start having issues. Just imagine the kind of zeal this man I showed you in this last video is using to argue because he's frustrated. Now, do you think if maybe he went to borrow money, do everything to get that woman at home, do you think he will not feel as a master over that woman? I will do part 2 of this. But in case you have any question or you think I'm wrong, please, let's analyze this together. I will repeat the topic again, that African/Nigerian marriage culture is a modern slavery trade. And that is exactly what it is.